system that we live in is programmed to make us dislike ourselves, and if you dislike yourself, how can you do anything effectively and feel good about what you're doing? So
Ladies and gentlemen, straight to the point, straight to the streets. We out here in Northeast DC, Union Market to be exact. And today we doing something a little bit different. So normally we out here talking to the people. We still talking to the people. But we got a very special guest because the election's coming up, the primaries June 16th. We wanted to make sure that we talk to the candidates running for city council. And today we have the pleasure of speaking with
Dyana Forester, a proud DC native, live in Ward 7, but I grew up all over this city. Didn't look like this, but I'm still here.
You still here, still kicking.
That's right.
Now, Dyana, because time is precious, we're not going to waste yours. We're going to get right to it. Now, being a native Washingtonian, I'm pretty sure you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into community efforts and to representing your community in D.C. What has brought you to this point where you thought it was necessary for you to run for city council?
So, like you said, I grew up here, and I've seen it go from the murder capital to chocolate city to where we are now. And I have watched my family also be pushed out of the city. I'm probably one of the only ones in my immediate family that still lives here. And I made a strategic decision. I want to stay here, but I also want to raise my children here and my grandchildren here. And I get frustrated when I watch that disparity in our city, where we have one community doing better and one community, the same community that was always doing bad, still struggling. So disparity has gotten worse. So I got involved in DC Public Schools. I'm a proud DC Public School graduate. My daughter will be graduating from third generation from Wilson, now Jackson Reed this year. But I realized living in Southeast, I didn't want to have to spend the rest of my life to keep commuting from Southeast to up Northwest to send my kids to school. So I got involved in DC Public Schools, and I led a citywide campaign to ensure that we had quality schools in every neighborhood. From there, I got parent coordinator legislation passed and community schools legislation passed. Then I also realized that, we need to make sure that people actually don't have to worry about how much money they're making because DC's become less affordable. So I led a campaign to win $15 hour minimum wage. Then I led a campaign for paid family medical leave because people lose their jobs oftentimes because they don't have enough leave to take off when they're sick. So I'm always trying to find opportunities to actually address the inequality versus to live and get conditioned with it. As an ANC commissioner on 14th and Clifton, I noticed that they were trying to close the Rita Bright Community Center, and I worked with the community to keep it open, so I ran for ANC, and I served as ANC in their community.
If and when elected, how do you envision yourself invigorating, giving the youth back their autonomy and making them feel a part of this community, and in turn, getting them the respect that they deserve as citizens and residents of DC as well?
Well, one, they have every right to feel that way. Especially, I have an 18-year-old and a 28-year-old and two grandsons. And my daughters have seen the change, especially the 28-year-old, because she's seen it herself firsthand. And the most important thing is that they want to, and I think this has something to do, I learned this from my daughter, this is not my own information, but the one thing as an organizer I always do is go directly to people that are impacted to try to understand things better. So when I've asked my daughter, like, how are you all feeling? Like, why are we, hanging out and seeing all the, calamity downtown? And she said, because we don't have community anymore, Mom. When you were growing up, you can go outside on your front porch and hang out with your friends. Our friends, if they are in DC, they're all over. So we have no place to come together. So the answer starts always with the people that are directly impacted, and I will always focus on engaging them. But I think that the other problem that we see is we need to make sure that we are, like I said earlier, prioritize our resources. We can't say that we don't want youth out here committing crime, then we cut community school legislation and we cut funding that has for after school programs. Where do we want them to go? Do you know how many boys and girls clubs we closed over the years? And then we want to know why kids are hanging out in the street? We don't have pre-apprenticeships in schools. When I was growing up, we had trades in schools. I ran a pre-apprenticeship program, and I've seen the difference that it's made in young people's lives. So we have to, if we want to address the youth, and curfews is not the way, we actually need to invest in resources that will give them the supports they need to be together as a community, but also to experience and to have the opportunities to thrive.
Now, sticking with the vulnerable population in DC, we spoke with some seniors and some senior advocates, and they talked about about some of their concerns. Some seniors in senior living facilities talked about the neglect that they face and the mistreatment, and when they report it, it's often met with hostility. Some senior advocates often talking about the same thing. Some seniors also said they feel left out of decision making, and they have also seen resources diminished and pulled from DC Office of Aging and other agencies. If and when elected, how do you envision yourself supporting the senior population and ensuring that their last days, the later days, are the better days?
So one, the reality is when we do balance our budget, it becomes what community can speak the loudest. And oftentimes, let's be real, we can't make it down to the Wilson building. So we see the people that are getting hurt are the ones that cannot advocate and organize and be the loudest voices, and that's definitely our seniors. I would say when it comes to elder care, we also have to look at the pay that people make, the little pay that people make to actually care for our elders and our seniors. Don't allow them as care providers to have a quality of life. The other thing is we're not protecting them to stay in their homes. I live in Southeast in a residential community. Everybody on my street owned their home for years. I've seen them lose their homes over a number of years because they're not paying their taxes. And we're not doing anything to protect them. But back to the first answer I gave is one, how to make them feel heard. You have to go to them. You can't rely on who can get down to the Wilson building. The way that I legislate, the way that before I take a position on anything, I don't want to hear only from the people that can come to me with something. I want to know who's not being heard. I want to investigate everybody's point of view and opinion. So that means leaving outside the Wilson building and making myself accessible. I'm going to be a senior too. Look, I'm getting up there, I'm 46. I'm
got a long way to go.
I'm going to stay here in this city. Y'all going to be rolling me out. So I want to make sure that I can stay here and watch my grandson stay here and my children are able to inherit my home and it's not swept up by developers.
Very well said. Now, we're going to transition to the economics of the city, right? So in the last 3 years, over 175 restaurants have closed in DC, taking with them jobs, thousands of jobs, and income that the city can desperately really use. If elected, how do you envision yourself supporting small businesses so that they can start without having to go through all these loopholes and pay all these fines? And how do you envision yourself making it sustainable to have a business and run a business in DC?
The first thing that DC should have done when they repealed the tip minimum wage is everyone kept saying that it was the small businesses were closing down, the restaurants were closing down because of the tip minimum wage. And you could believe that, but one thing that lacked is no research or data to support that. So as an informed council member wanting to take a position on why these small businesses are closing down, I've talked to some of them, and they say a lot of them opened up fast right before the pandemic and were not prepared to not have people coming inside their businesses. We didn't give them any supports. There was no grant supports for them. There was no support to get them through the pandemic. But also, if we really want to analyze what the problem is, then we should be talking to a small business to understand why did they close down. And then from there, we should develop the supports in place. Now, what I hear from small businesses, we can cut the red tape. We can make it easier. The Office of Small Business could actually be a place that helps them set up their business, streamline all their paperwork, and help them address challenges when they come up. They can't get anybody on the phone. They're not there to support them and advocate for them. And that's who the chamber and the small business should be working for, are locally black-owned small businesses here in DC. You see, I got mine on.
There you go, gotta support. You gotta support. Now, as a native Washingtonian, right, being here your whole life, raising your family here, working here, tell me, if anything, what have you seen disappear culturally from DC that you feel like we need to bring back?
Oh man, so much. I would say just being together. That, I mean, like when my daughter said that to me, when she reminded me, like, Mom, you were able to go, you and your friends got up in the morning and hung outside in the neighborhood all day long. And we were together. And you know, if my mother had to work, because most of us, we were raised by single parents, we had one father in the neighborhood. And he, you know, spanked all the kids if we got in trouble. I didn't even tell y'all his name. But he did manage to go bad. But I would say this, having the community, you know, being able to hang out on the block, not having to leave outside the neighborhood, knowing it's time to come in the house when the porch lights come on. We don't have that sense of community anymore. That's something I want to bring back.
Now, we talk with a lot of people, when they hear the word politician, they cringe. And a lot of people have a negative connotation when it's connected to politics. In your mind, what do you see the difference between a politician and a public servant, and which one would you consider yourself?
So I'm going to tell you this. I was raised, do not come from a political family. I do come from a family of public servants. My sister's a nurse. My grandmother was a teacher. My mother is a retired police officer. So we do come from a family of service. As far as being a politician is going to tell you what you want to hear. But as soon as they get elected, a politician used to tell me the devil's in the details. So what I'm not is a politician. I may not say things as smooth, as easy, and it might be hard for some people to hear because I keep it 100% real. But I'm not going to tell you that we're going to be able to fix everything. Because I don't tell my children they can believe in Santa Claus when the ends aren't meeting. I'm going to sit there and say we're going to do what we can with what we have. We're going to do it together. So I'm not going to tell you, you know, I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to take on Donald Trump. What I'm going to do is do my best to protect hard-working people that live in the District of Columbia, like me, that have been here all of our lives to stay here. And I'm going to also embrace our people that are coming to our community, but also respect that we were here and they don't want to erase our history. So that's the difference between a politician and Dyana. Dyana's not going to tell you the snappy, how I'm going to get something done fast. I'm going to tell you what you can hold me accountable to, because I'm going to hold myself accountable.
Now, before we close out, June 16th, people are going to go to the polls. Tell us why they should rank you as their first choice for DC Council.
I would say for all DC, though everybody may have different opinions, they got to look at exactly what the responsibility of the at-large council member is. And the at-large council member is to take the position as a whole. Our ward council members focus on their constituents. You need someone that understands people's differences, but also values our working class people and are going to put the demands that we face every day in their decision making and be able to bring us together despite our differences. And I've done that for a long time. Every piece of legislation that I have gotten passed, I had to get passed with people on both sides of the aisle. From working in West Virginia, DC, and Maryland, you have to bring Republicans and Democrats together to actually get meaningful legislation done. So I'm the person that can actually do that.
Y'all heard it here first. Dyana could do it. So y'all make sure y'all get to them polls June 16th.
Thank you.
We appreciate you giving us your time today, ladies and gentlemen. Straight to the point, straight to the streets. We out.